I'm going to keep this straightforward because that's what you need when you're standing in front of a balance and wondering whether it's worth the investment. If you've been hesitating over an analytical balance, wondering if you'll end up with a piece of equipment that sits untouched because it's too finicky, or you're scared of spending a chunk of budget on a tool that won't actually make your workflow any smoother, this is the review that will help you sort that out. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First, let's acknowledge the core worry most buyers have. Analytical balances sit at the intersection of precision and fragility. A few grams off and your experiment can be compromised, yet the same precision can make a scale feel like a temperamental pet that needs constant attention. The Ohaus PX323 Pioneer tries to bridge that gap, promising a 0.001G readability, internal calibration, and a built-in Draftshield. Those are the headline claims, but the real question is how they translate into day-to-day lab work, and where the value actually lives beyond the spec sheet. When you're setting up a balance, the first thing you notice is the environment. A Draftshield is only as good as the air around it. In my experience, a well-designed shield can take the edge off the small air currents you get from an HVAC system or from opening a cabinet nearby. The PX323's shield is integrated, meaning you don't have to buy a separate enclosure and bolt it on. That's a practical time saver for labs that are already juggling equipment. It also means you won't have to constantly adjust a loose cover that can knock over your pan. In a teaching lab, where students are constantly moving around, that kind of stability is worth more than the raw readability number. The internal calibration routine is another feature that sounds great on paper, but can be a mixed bag in practice. Ohaus programmed the PX323 to run a self-check at power-up and on demand, using an internal weight that's stored inside the base. For a lab that runs dozens of weighings a day, that eliminates the need to pull out a separate calibration weight every morning. You get a quick, ready signal on the display, and you can trust the numbers as long as the environment stays within the recommended temperature range. The downside is that you still need to verify the calibration periodically with a certified external weight, especially if you're working on regulated workflows like pharmaceutical QC. The internal routine can mask a drift if you never cross-check it, so it's not a free pass, it's more of a convenience layer. Now, who actually benefits from those conveniences? If you're running a research lab that frequently prepares standard solutions, titrates reagents, or needs to weigh small quantities of powders for formulation work, the PX323 fits nicely. Its 320G capacity paired with 0.001G readability lets you handle everything from a few milligrams of catalyst to a couple of 100 grams of bulk material without swapping scales. The display is large enough to read at a glance, and the unit selection button lets you toggle between grams, milligrams, and ounces without hunting through menus. For chemistry professors, the ease of use means students spend more time learning the reaction than fiddling with a clunky interface. On the flip side, if you're a hobbyist who only occasionally needs to weigh a few grams of herbs, or a home brewer measuring yeast nutrients, the PX323 probably feels like overkill. The price point sits higher than a basic digital scale, and the need for a stable, vibration-free bench means you might end up investing in an anti-vibration table just to get reliable numbers. In that scenario, a simpler scale without a Draftshield and with a manual calibration routine would do the job and leave more room in the budget for other tools. Let's talk about some of the practical strengths you'll notice right away. The construction feels solid. The base is cast metal, which helps dampen vibrations from nearby equipment. That's not just a premium feel, it translates into less noise on the measurement when a centrifuge or a stir plate is running nearby. The pan size is modest, about 70 mm in diameter, which works well for standard weighing boats and small containers. If you need to handle larger containers, you'll have to use a weigh boat on top of the pan, but that's a common workaround in any analytical balance workflow. Power options are also worth noting. The PX323 can run off AC power, or a rechargeable battery, giving you flexibility if you have an occasional need to move the balance between benches. In a field-type lab or a mobile testing setup, the battery mode can keep you running for a few hours, but you'll quickly discover that the internal calibration routine drains a bit more power than a simple digital scale would. So, plan on keeping it plugged in for a 24/7 lab. No device is without its hidden trade-offs. One thing I've seen with integrated draft shields is that they can collect dust and static over time, especially